And I would love to really expand that species list as we go along. And you can see there were tiny birds, there were birds that eat seeds. There were some migrants, just a few birds that visit and then disappear again. And then a lot of obviously residential, monogamous and territorial birds that were seen. So I want to talk about that a little bit just now. I've got two case studies that I thought were quite interesting. So it was really amazing to see that our contribution got us onto the top hotspots. So this is on eBird. This is according to their data. These are all the eco regions in KZN that made contributions over those 4 days. And we got 11th place, which I thought was pretty cool. It's a good start, yeah. And so you can see they went by a number of species. And you can see some of the other areas, Tala Private Game Reserve with 83 species, Timber Elephant Park with 77. So just a reminder, that doesn't mean other places weren't taking part. These were the ones that actually submitted figures over those 4 days. So one of the things I wanted to just talk about is, maybe we have a question like, why would our little local conservancy want to and need to participate in such a global event? And I think it becomes very apparent when we all know birds move. They migrate either seasonally for breeding or for food. They move around even within a very small area. Over those 4 days, you can see the same bird but in different areas, either looking for different food stops. And they're sociable, so they travel together. And I think one of the reasons why participation like this is important is that we can start mapping those movements, because it doesn't help if over here we are taking care of birds that need to go somewhere else and they're not taking care of the areas over there, and vice versa. So it starts to allow us to communicate and see where birds are either migrating to, where they have staging areas, where they have breeding areas, and how we can contribute to that. So I've got a quote here. Protecting birds and their habitats in one region may be of little help if their breeding and foraging areas or their overwintering grounds on the other side of the earth are not conserved. It was also very fascinating for me just to speak about two case studies. I discovered, I did not know this until we did the event, that there's a family of white-eared barbets and they are highly territorial. They usually actually defend one tree very often. And I have seen one white-eared barbet in my garden over a number of months. And then during those 4 days, the number kept going up and up. And eventually I realized that there was a family group. Now, I can't be sure whether they are absolutely related or they're just hanging out together. I did not see them breeding, and I didn't necessarily see them feeding the young. But we have a silky oak at the bottom of our garden, and every single day they would meet. There's one long stick at the top of the tree. They would congregate, all of them, the 7, on this one stick, hang around, chat a little bit, and then they'd always fly in the same direction to whatever feed. I think it's a fig tree close by, because they don't go very far. And I have now seen that every single day since then. These 7 white-eared barbets every morning, 6 o'clock routine, a little bit earlier in summer. It's getting a bit later now because the sun's coming up later, but they will meet every day at that time and have this little party, which I just found amazing. So when you look at the numbers, that's quite an interesting thing in terms of the research. Let me just go back to, was it here? Yeah, so the birds seem, the most common species seen, you can see there it says the white-eared barbet. That doesn't actually mean we saw the most of the white-eared barbet all over the area. It's just because of that territorial behavior, and because I had that one group and we were seeing them repeatedly, that they were one of the most commonly seen. And that's also true of the red-eyed dove. You very often see a pair, and they go to the same area, they fly from one tree to the other. So the most common species is not necessarily the ones that many of you maybe are used to seeing, but the numbers were high over those 4 days because of that very territorial behavior. One of the other highlights of that 4-day, and I heard the sound, it took me a while to recognize what it was, or to discover, was a buck-spotted flufftail, which are actually very difficult to, they're a very shy bird and very difficult to see. And every night, so it was sort of late afternoon into the evening, you hear this makes this very ghostly sound, and it was very faint. I thought, is that a machine? Is that, what is that? Until I realized and was able to actually confirm that it was this bird. So again, the number was quite high, but we believe it's just the same individual bird calling in the morning and calling at night, which they tend to do when they are breeding. Don't hear it anymore. It was literally for about 2 or 3 weeks that it was making that call. I don't know if it's moved elsewhere, if anybody else is hearing it, but yeah, I'm not hearing it at all. So those 2 case studies were amazing. And when I also looked at eBird, there's actually very little research on a bird like that. So anything that we can contribute towards their behavior, where they are, when they're calling, what they're doing is going to be very helpful. Yeah, so that's my case studies. Yeah. One of the challenges that I discovered, I think birders will know this, we love to have a life list. So you have your bird list for life, like how many birds have I seen, and you just tick them off. I've seen that one, I've seen that one, I've seen that one. And the point about this exercise was actually not just to say what you'd seen, but to say where you had seen it and in how many you had seen, in what numbers. So for future events, it would be great to clarify that we're looking for those kind of figures, not just that I see this in a day, but to also map very specifically in a day when you see it, because that will give us an indication of its behavior, and how many we are seeing and whether they are moving about. So that would be one of the things that I would try and emphasize in the next event. And I'm just thinking that if we look at this table again, eight participants, 70 species, over 680 birds. Now I imagine 80 birders. and participating across the conservancies. I don't necessarily think we would quadruple the species, but I certainly think we would get a really good idea of movements and behavior and habitat. So that is my goal for next year, is to try and improve that number, to improve collaboration across the conservancies. And I also realized by asking for more, this year I was the only one actually on eBird, so people would submit their lists to me and I would put the information into eBird. If there were 80, I'm not sure, I might need to ask for some help, just in collating the data, but I'm sure somebody out there is keen to help. We will be keeping the WhatsApp group going from now indefinitely. The birding WhatsApp group that we started, so that any other events that come up, if anybody wants to jump on board or share, you can, and reach out if you want to help. And then this is also from the eBird, just KZN in general. What I found quite interesting about this figure, if you look at Mpumalanga, who's at the top, but they had 110 checklists. So that's actually how many lists of birds people submitted and a very high species count. KZN also is quite a low checklist number in relation to the species. If you look at Western Cape, that's a lot of checklists to only get that many species, you know, so it does kind of give an indication of the diversity of species that we are getting there. All right, so just to end off with some promotion, just because people have given beautiful photos. Some of those are with thanks to Corrie, and some of these photos are on the website. Can you recognize it? I'm sure. Yeah. You know those photos, yeah. And these photos are from members, you know, and we have a really beautiful location. And the more we can collect the photos, the more we can share what we are seeing and identifying. It's just going to get richer. So the next big birding event is actually on the 9th of May. What I love about this one is it's more like a birders list heaven, in that it's how many birds can I see in one day? You just have to make a list. And I think that could be quite a lot of fun. So that's on the 9th of May. It happens to coincide with World Migratory Bird Day, so where they actually are specifically looking at birds that are migrating. So that's 9th of May. I will put that out on the group shortly. And then next year's Great Backyard Bird Count is taking place always in February, the 12th to the 15th. So it usually runs from a Friday through to a Monday, you know, so it gives those of us who work a chance over the weekend to contribute. And I think that is all that I wanted to say. So if anyone has a question or a query.
Once a comment.
Yes.
You know that 4 days there were no holidays.
Oh, no.
That was interesting.
Yeah, the weather was not good over those 4 days. I must admit, to me, you know, a lot of people who participated and noticed that and said, you know, I usually see way more birds. So the Saturday was particularly not good. I asked them though. I asked them to just, can you guys hang back? Every time I do a bird recording, I start, and you know which one comes in. Is there another question or contribution or anything? And I think I'm done. Thank you very much for your time, and I really look forward to your future events and growing participation. Thank you.
Is that for September, Anthony? Welcome. Is that Mr. Zender? Welcome. We were talking about it earlier. Pastor Temper is our community leader, a leader from across the road, and he's a pastor of the Full Gospel Church, and we've been working with him for many years. Jeanne-Louise and now I am. And Mr. Zender is principal of the Quandamaqua Primary School that we are wanting to develop a relationship with and do as much. We want to make that primary school a model green school. So we try and help this step. Welcome, thank you for coming. Thanks so much, Sam, for that. I must confess I felt thoroughly inadequate in the actual backyard event. I love birds, and I thought I'd do something about them. And so you get somebody like Sam who come along, or Corrie who come along with snakes and everything else, and then you realise that you know little. But we look forward to learning a lot more from you and a lot more bird counts. So I'm going to now hand over to Dominique for the financial report. Thanks, Dom.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not used to public speaking into a microphone, so please excuse me. This is the dry and boring part of the evening, so just bear with me, please. This isn't your usual format of a treasurer's report. If you'd like to have this format, you're welcome to look at it this way, but I like colour. So I don't know if you want me to go through blow by blow all our expenses and all our income. So you can see a good summary there. So over the financial year in February 28th, 2026, the total income was 38,167 rand and 24 cents. And then our expenses for the year was 39,882.67. And so now we have a deficit for the year of 1,715 rand and 43 cents. So what's interesting to me, we have to start projecting for the future. And one of our biggest expenses is labor in the Admiralty, which is really important to try and keep the alien invasive vegetation under control. That's absolutely paramount that we look after our precious Admiralty. So that's one of our biggest expenses. Well, it is our biggest expense. Now, the MRA very kindly has been contributing a vast amount to us every month to help cover that. But if they cannot contribute any more, which could happen, it's a scenario that we have to actually accept. The labour for the year for this coming year is going to be 30,000 rand minimum, and so on. So that actually translates to 5 months of labour that we can pay for out of the bank account as it stands today. So that is quite a reality that we have to face, and we have to look at better ways of fundraising, of getting the membership up, getting the fees in, and in that way, I think we could possibly manage it, but we just need to look at getting a lot more into the bank account so that we can manage all the expenses that we need to honour. So this is going to be part of the committee's role to try and improve what the efforts that we're doing, maybe liaise with other conservancies as well, and get ideas and so on. So in that vein, thank you very, very much to everybody who has contributed and does contribute in time and in ideas and in advice and in rands. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Dominique. We hope that's not just informative, but a challenge as well for everybody. We're going to take a 5-minute break before I get my chairman's report, so you can recharge your glasses and so on. And the kitchen has just asked me to announce that they're taking orders for dinner. The menu is on each table. So if you would like to stay, they'll be taking orders during this time. And so we'll be back. It's now 17 minutes to 6. Can we be back at 10 to 6, so that we can carry on with my report? Thanks very much. I get a visit from a stressed out old fisherman by the name of Tim Hornby, who told me that he had just resigned from the Ratepayers Association, the committee that is, because they were planning to clear the undergrowth in the Admiral Reserve so we can see in their property. It's a very stupid idea, and something had to be done to stop them. The next Ratepayers Association to share my concern. I had a very frosty reception and was told to put my concerns in writing. When I visit the person whose idea it was, he tells me that there were hundreds of ratepayers and the concerns of one were of little concern to him. Those are faced with a stupidity of this magnitude, we had to do something drastic. You were there, and you came. That entitled fisherman. So, based on the stupidity and drastic, that same week, two stressed out old fishermen decided to start a conservancy. 12th of February 2021. Meet on the deck of my house, the result of which was the following letter to everyone interested in starting a conservancy in Munster. As Munsterite, we are privileged to own property in an area that has so much indigenous bush, so many birds and animals, and such a beautiful beach, but we cannot take all this for granted. We need to do all we can to nurture and protect our natural environment. One of the ways to do this is officially to make our area a conservancy. Is this mic working, or is it too loud? Or further away? Further away, like here? I stand behind the mic.
We don't want to hear that.
Listen, do you need a mic if I talk like this? You do. Just please. Don't too close. Is that better like that?
And also if you stand back, move this forward, then there's not so much.
Starting a conservancy means registering with an umbrella body called Conservancies KZN. Thank you. You can also read it, which is the largest conservancies umbrella body on this part of the world. We invited Anna Jordan, who is the Ugu coordinator of Conservancies KZN, to tell us about her organization and answer questions. She had lots of ideas. We are setting up a Munster Conservancy, but would love to hear from you. If you're interested in joining us in this exciting adventure, simply learning about it, please send that 12th of February 2021. This sent out to all of the friends and contacts of the group of friends that met that day. 27th of March, I meet with the new MRRA committee to share the vision. They invite to address the wider community on the 4th of May. I couldn't be there, so I asked David, well-known environmentalist of the South Coast, to represent me. There were very few people at the meeting, I understand, I wasn't there. Crucially, the Kinseys were there at David's personal invitation. So I could say the state of the rest is history, because to have the Kinseys on board means you're halfway there anyway. Around 12 of us meet at Sotela, the Kinsey estate, to elect a committee and the Conservancy. I was the chair for a year. Jeanne-Louise, vice chair, Tim Hornby, treasurer. What happened to him? Went fishing. And I'm not joking. And Robin Brody, secretary. We opened a bank account for the week. Around this time, we received a proposal from the Ratepayers Association that the Conservancy becomes an MRRA project with a separate bank account. The committee turned us down because we are already registered as a conservancy with a separate constitution falling under Conservancies KZN. Elise Scott's the committee as representative of the MRA and works tirelessly for closer partnership. For the next 2 years, we are the MRRA, but continue to extend the hand of friendship at every opportunity. 23rd of February, 2023, that's about 2 years later, we have an official meeting between the Munster Conservancy and Ratepayers Associated Committees, facilitated by Johan Bester, friend of Rod Kinsey, in order to establish a working relationship. This does not really produce tangible results, and relations continue to be strained. Sometime in 2024, I get a phone call in the middle of the night from a member of the MRRA committee saying that the chairman had resigned and the committee wants to work with us. Help them find a new chairman. The rest, the present chairman is at this AGM, and we'll be getting a vote of thanks later. Would never have thought that possible, given history. Now, given that history, because it started with the MRRA, with a stupid decision. I went to visit the at the time it was somebody else, and I got this fear in my ear. Really seriously annoyed she was, and wondering what business I had to challenge their very stupid idea of clearing the undergrowth in the Admiralty. Thus ends the brief history. Now, 2 incidents that made our presence felt. I'm going to be talking a little bit about presence and making your presence felt is reflective of what happens in nature very powerfully for survival. The first involved a small piece of indigenous forest, not more than 3 hectares in size, on the macadamia farm opposite the Munster shopping centre, that we heard was coming under threat by the new owner of the farm. He intended, we heard, it down to plant macadamia trees. When I heard about this, I could not sleep that night. Now, a month of us starting, I simply could not live with the possibility. I don't know if you know this little piece of bush. It's right opposite, it's still there, right opposite the Munster shopping centre. I admire it, I go there. It is a little piece of indigenous forest that is standing there of all the macadamia plantations around it, as if to say, we will not be moved. We had to stop it. Anna Jordan told me not to panic, that she would alert the CKZN. I started to mobilize people like my life depended on it. I took pictures of the forest, posted them to everyone I thought might have infants, some infants in saving it, with a passionate plea to save it. This included government organizations, environmental violation report centers, rights lawyers, religious bodies, the press, the academic community, and activists from the old school days against apartheid. The response was extraordinary. I got messages from all over the world. Friends in Germany were ready to activate the vast green network in Europe. Family in England, the same. The well-known rights lawyer, Richard Spoor, contacted me personally about how he was battling against the macadamia farmers who are devastating the environment in the lowlands. Enraged friend and colleague, Sinigogo, picked up the phone immediately and started getting his network activated. So very interesting responses came from our small group of friends on the Munster Conservancy WhatsApp group, one of which caught my attention. Why not pick up the phone and talk to the man? Very novel suggestion in the light of the fact that we were busy mobilizing an army to descend on him. People rejected this, saying he would never listen. Money came first. He had no concern for the environment, etc., etc. I kept putting it off because I was scared, expecting a contemptuous and angry response. But I eventually picked up the phone and called him. When I mentioned my name, he greeted me as though he had known me for years. He said, "Oh, kind of thing." I was completely blown away. He knew all about me and was expecting my call. He obviously had a spy there. He assured me, or without my needing to even tell him the purpose of the call, he proceeded to assure me that he would put it in writing if I wanted him to, that he had invested over 100 million into the area and was as concerned about it as I was, and that I must come around for a cup of coffee to discuss things, etc., etc. I felt like a general who mobilized his army only to enemy come out with a white flag and surrendered before the battle began. So I had to go back to lay down their weapons. Some of them seemed a bit disappointed. "What's this?" they asked. We were expecting a fight. That was 2021. I still haven't had a cup of coffee. And I'm not naive enough to think there has been a kind of Damascus Road change of heart. Enough buzz to draw a lot of attention to ourselves and help put Munster Conservancy on the map. And we learned some significant lessons. The second incident involved a property in McLeod Street where the trees were being cut down. The sound of chainsaws attracted our attention, and Tim, Ali, and I went across just in time to see the last tree being taken down. It was absolute carnage. Red milkwood, white milkwood, red beech, and others had been felled. I was beside myself with grief, anger, and frustration. The owner pleaded ignorance, but we soon discovered that he had been warned that it was against the law. Discovered, by the way, through Ingrid's daughter, who has a garden services, who he had approached and said, could they come and cut down the trees? And she had said, no, it's against the law. We took pics and named the property. I would not do this again. We were motivated at the time by the government would do nothing. The law would not take its course. It turned out that we were mistaken. We also notified the forestry department, and 2 officials came out a few days later. That was the first surprise. They spent quite a long time talking to the owner and then went back home. I was actually quite amazed. Head of compliance at that stage was a man called Wiseman Rosani. He is now passed on. But we had called out the press for something. And when he saw that, he said, take those people away. I don't want any. So they were taken away. He then went in and spent a good part of 2 hours talking to this gentleman, which I found quite extraordinary, to find out exactly where he was coming from in terms of his action, why he did it, etc. By the way, we had met the garden services people driving away when we arrived and were apoplectic with frustration and rage. And who do you think you are telling the person who owns the property that he can't cut down his trees? And I said, we're the Munster Conservancy. It turned out that we were mistaken. We also notified the forestry department. So 2 officials arrived. That was my first surprise. They spent this time with them. Over the next few weeks, we continued to pester them telephonically to take it further. They said they had opened a case with the police in Port Edward, but they did not give me a case number. So I didn't believe them. Again, I was led to believe by those who had been in the game much longer than I that nothing would be done. But to my astonishment, I received a call from the Port Edward police station to say that they wanted to take a statement from me about the incident. Warrant Officer Nobanda duly arrived and spent an hour with me taking a statement. She left, and I thought that would be the last that I would hear of her. I phoned her several times over the next year, asking what progress had been made. She kept telling me that it was in the pipeline and that the perpetrator would eventually end up in court. I didn't believe her, but I was proved wrong. She phoned me sometime in 2023, about a year at least later, saying that he had appeared in a Johannesburg court and given a fine. I was astonished. I'm open to correction, but I think it is the first time that a person committing an environmental crime had gone to court and paid a fine because of the actions of a conservancy. Now, I wrote the following on the 10th of July, 2021. Now, I was quite amazed to find this in my conservancy archives, because this was exactly 5 months, almost to the day, after our first meeting in my home. And this is what I wrote. Our commitment to the cause of conservation must be as though our lives depend on it. Things get done when people feel the hurt that nature feels. Well, not extreme, don't you think, Corrie? Yeah, we agree. Corrie's not for extreme reaction. But that's what I wrote 5 years ago. Secondly, conservation is not only about the environment, it is about people. While rage is essential, it should not get in the way of courtesy and respect. We will never get anywhere without all of these things. Now, you tell me how rage goes with courtesy. But you see, it must. That's the point. We will never get anywhere unless without all of these things. Thirdly, the fundamental idiocy behind environmental ingress and destruction, although normative, should not translate into the belief that everyone except ourselves are idiots. Idiots, among whom I count myself when I compare my knowledge of the environment to others, can change. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about idiocy just now, or stupidity. But what I'm certain of after these 5 years is that if, and make no mistake, there's a hell of a lot of idiocy out there, but if the departure point is that, and we spend an enormous amount of time in the in-group talking about the stupidity of the out-group. Is that not true? Me, especially. God, how can they cut down that? Why did they do this? Why did they? Is this not just sure sign of stupidity? I was on, obviously, a very steep learning curve. So these are the lessons that we have learned. And I've got 6 of them. Firstly, commit to the cause of conservation like your life depends on it, because it does. That is, it does depend on it. We're not into bunny hugging. We're not into entertainment. I mean, it's wonderful to hear the birds and to see the frogs and to and to see the peaty in our agriculture and the bushland. But it's far more than that. Because if the natural environment dies, we die with it. It's just, that's the fact of the interdependence of ecosystems. Make the presence of the Conservancy felt, because it does. Now, one of the first laws of survival in nature is to make your presence felt. That's why birds call, frogs cheep and croak, and lions roar. Now, there might be a whole lot of other things going on there, but you must, but it's for sure, if we are to believe the science, and even if we think that God put them there, what is happening is they have to make their presence felt to survive. Because if they don't make their presence felt, they will not survive. Now, the two reasons for their survival, we are led to believe, is to find a partner or to make their presence felt to potential. They're saying, listen, this is my territory. Don't mess with it. Or they're saying, Waza, come to the potential partners. All of this means that they must make their presence felt, but not their exact location. Because if their exact location is known, they will get the predator. The predators will find them. Now, all this making your presence felt applies to everything, I think, except for snakes. Snakes do their best not to make their presence felt. And this is part of the bad reputation that snakes have. You are a creepy crawler. You are sneaking in here and you're not where you are. And that's part of the problem that we have with snakes. Sorry, Pastor Timber. He is very afraid. And so we've had quite long conversations. And so I sent him a picture of Corrie catching the breeding mamba and Tony's face. So he said, hey, Tony, I saw a snake. And I said, Timber, I hope you didn't kill that snake. He said, no. I said it was my friend. I told it was my friend because I forgave it for what it did to Adam and Eve in the garden. Oh, is that profound for one? No, but that sounds funny. But you know, for him it's real. There's something in our primal instincts that comes from our religion, that comes from our past, that comes from our ancestors. My dad used to say that the best thing was hardly show the mongoose he killed as a boy. So it's primal. It's deep. And the fear of it leads to so often the destruction of the habitat where the snakes live. And that applies to everyone. So I'm sort of getting off the point here because I want making your presence felt. So that applies to everything except snakes, and perhaps Corrie can tell us more about how snakes do make their presence felt. What I'm sure of, so I don't know if I can tell that story of the green mamba that we came up. I nearly got run over by syndrome once, right in the intended area, because I went down to pick Martin Doolittle. You know how stupid I am on Martin Doolittle. None, I love them. So he said, "Hey, just watch out for snakes. Go in there. There's a green mamba wrapped around, absolutely beautifully disguised. He sees them. His friends see them. I'm behind them. They run past me so much that I'm flat." So I say to him, "Hey, now the damn thing is disappeared on me, but there we go." So making your presence felt, not making your presence felt, not your location. Nature has to solve this really quite difficult problem. There, but not there. The buff spotted flutter, what a lovely name, is the best example. You hear it, you can never locate it from itself, but you know it's there. There's this booming sound, but you won't. But it's there. If anybody is not stupid, though, it's nature. There's an absolutely good reason for everything that they do. They become stupid when we interfere. Like we take wolves and make them into dogs, then dogs become stupid. Or buffaloes and make them into cows. You couldn't find a more stupid creature. When we interfere with it, they become stupid. But left alone, they're not stupid at all. So what I'm trying to say is we've got to make our presence felt. And what I've said so far about it is simply that. We made our presence felt. We didn't get into the holy huddle that I think, because they think everyone is stupid except us. And mentality instead of reaching out. So the third thing is we need to turn predators into partners. And by predators, I mean those who cut down the forest and the tree, and we don't know better. Goal one is that's to control our anger, to control our rage. Smile is something I've learned to do against all odds. Put that smile on your face. Talk politely, but firmly. Make part. Classically, this happened with the Reggae Association. As far as I was concerned, they were nothing but predators on the environment. Give us 4 years, and we were partners. So close that we worked with each other all the time. Overcome stupidity at all costs, especially your own. There are also definitions of stupidity. My favorite comes in the form of a simile. Being stupid is you don't know you are. It's the people around you who suffer. Now, we are seeing this principle played out on a global scale by the most powerful nation, by the most powerful person. I know I'm treading on difficult ground, but there is of being stupid, not knowing it, and causing the suffering of millions of people. Realize, fifthly, that you, in a marathon, and not a sprint. Finally, take a leaf out of nature's book. People forget the past and live in the present. Nature is incredibly forgiving and never stupid. Just look at Frogland. Frogland is a perfect example of nature saying, thank you for what you've done. I'm now going to thrive. And every one of those frogs, when they croak and bleep and peep and tweet, are saying, thank you for protecting this piece of habitat that we can now live in, survive in, and thrive in. Let's forgive people. Let's forget the past. Live in the present, because that's what nature does. So here endeth my talk. I wanted, before sitting down and getting over to Jeanne-Louise to help with the election of the new committee, just thank some people. The committee that I've been working with has just been marvelous, all of them. But I've got to mention a few of them. I've got to mention Annelize Scott, who faithfully built the bridge between the American Association and ourselves. It's against all odds. And we, by the way, we have a WhatsApp group which had 10, 15 people. A couple of days later, it had 50, 60 people, because Annelize Scott had joined, and she was what they call an influencer. Just like I've been talking about frogs and everything wanting to influence others, she was an influencer. Nature invented influencing long before social media. But it's certainly, and I remember Jeanne-Louise saying, where did all the peeps come from? Peeps, that is people. Well, the influencer, she was a member of other groups, and she said, hey, whoosh. And we've grown our WhatsApp group. So, thank you, Annelize, for your commitment. I must say thank you to Jeanne-Louise, because she has been like a rock throughout the whole time. And just so steady and so wise and so with it. She's got it all. Rod, you are a very lucky man. And you know that. I've got to thank Dominique Coetzee. She hasn't been with us long, but she's an absolute dynamo. And we could not have done without her since the passing of our dear friend Heine. She does far more than cook the books. I mean, look after the books. She does far more than look after the books. She is getting herself ginned up on everything to do with nature, natural world, and conservancies and northern. She is going to be an absolute vital part. She still is. And finally, I want to thank Felicity Balcomb. Sorry. She has been at my side for these 5 years, and she is special, and I want to give her every credit. Thank you for being my partner in marriage and my partner in the Conservancy. Look, I'm so excited about to go through the protocols of election that everybody wants a piece of Corrie Lotter. From Durban to Cape Town, they want a piece of Corrie Lotter. And when I phoned him and said, Corrie, how about it? He said, tell me about it. And I said to him, Listen, Corrie's thinking about it. And we've got him thinking about it. And then he said, Tony, I'll do it. I nearly wanted to rush out into the byways and highways, the trees, and say, Corrie said yes. Like a person who's proposed to her. Yes, but Corrie said. Now, I understand that the influencer there was Yolandi. Thank you, Yolandi. now I'm making a thing about this but seriously, Corrie is not just a walking encyclopedia of the natural world. He is, and you must correct me here, Senegal, he is what the Africans would call a umuntu, what the Germans would call a mensch, because he knows the understanding of umuntu, ingebuntu, ingabantu, that people are people through other people. He's not just a walking encyclopedia. He is a heart for people, especially the old. Thank you, Corrie. And the infirm. Thank you, Corrie. And whenever there's a project, he's asking the question, will old people be able to climb this, to walk this ramp? Will the infirm be able? So he is a people's person, and we are infinitely grateful that he is coming on board. And the rest of the committee, I'm just astounded at how they've come, where they've come, but they've come. And I'm going to be standing down from the chairmanship and the committee, but I have every belief that that committee is going to take the Munster Conservancy to completely new heights. Thank you also to Ali. He isn't here, but I don't know if he's watching. But Ali is somebody who's been a friend, the mad genius, the crazy genius. We love you, Ali, if you're looking, because he's been with us, with me especially from the beginning, and he has a passion that is incomparable. Thanks so much, sir. I'm going to hand it to Jeanne-Louise.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Lovely to have you all here at Secret Sands this evening. We're so blessed to have this lovely venue to be able to host you all. So welcome, everybody that's come from far and wide. First of all, I would just like to say a big thank you to Tony and Felicity for all they've done for all these years for Munster and nature, Munster Conservancy and nature. It's actually 6 years, I think, Tony. It's 6 years, not 5 years. And that's a long time. To me, it all began at the entrance to the Kathleen Kinsey Nature Reserve, which is the place where Corrie potters around with his camera and reveals the secrets hidden in the forest. I don't know if those of you that are on our Munster Conservancy WhatsApp group will have seen these little pictures of videos of bush pigs and tell us what's there, bush buck, Coetzee, otter, Janet, yeah, a whole lot of things. So to me, it kind of began there at that lovely little spot where there was a little gathering of a motley crew of nature lovers who didn't know each other very well. And Tony was there, Anna was there, brought up this idea about a nature, a Munster Conservancy, and we were all roped in. And from there, Tony has really led us from this little group to a strong and visible and very impactful group. And that is because, largely, because you, Tony, know how to make your presence in nature felt. There weren't very many of us, and most of us were pretty meek, but Tony, with Ali in tow, I must add, because Ali was always there when there was a battle to be fought, you made our presence felt. And it didn't take long before we had MRRA and Munster shivering with this, this group of dangerous conservationists. So we have done a lot over the years, I must say, and it's been very interesting. We've had lots of discussions about the value of the carrot or the stick. You know, whether to approach people with rage or with gentleness, with understanding. And as Tony's been saying, there's place for both. For me, there's a place for rage, but it's rage with intention. It's all about what is the intention behind the rage. And when you are raging because your intention is to save a particular piece of indigenous forest, or because the paths in the Admiralty are getting wider and wider, and you use that rage in a wise and calculated, understanding way, don't get lost in the emotion of the rage. There certainly is a place for rage. And I prefer to use the word ignorance to stupidity. So together with this force which you have to make yourself known, we've also gone about educating people about how to look after nature. Tony's been very hands-on in our AIP project, keeping the Admiralty free of invaders. Tony's in there with his overalls, with our workers, hands-on, doing the job. And I must add, Felicity is often in there as well, in the bush, hands-on, doing what needs to be done. So between the two of you, you know, you've held on. Every year you threaten this is the last year, and we beg you to stay, and you've held the reins. You've led us through and made us certainly appear as a formidable, strong force for the good of nature. So thank you, Tony, for your leadership, your guidance, your encouragement, for always being available. Even when the two of you were far away in the hidden valley, you were still present on our WhatsApp group, always engaging, always responding, encouraging, advising, and leading with courage and wisdom. So, yeah, and of course, always ready to engage on contentious issues. Even within our conservancy, amongst ourselves, you know, as soon as the monkeys come up or the strelitzias come up, there's always a lot of contention, and we're not afraid to engage. So we thank you. We're very grateful. We have a small gift for the two of you, and on behalf of the Conservancy, I'd like to present it to you. Thank you very much. Please open it. Just a forewarning before you do. You're not allowed to wear them in principal's offices.
Can I wear them in Secret Sands?
You can.
Secret Sands.
There you go.
It's on.
Long may you wear them, and far and wide may you take them. And we wish you all the best. You'll have some time now, Tony, to continue with the things that interest you and keep you busy. I believe you're writing a book, right? So we look forward to seeing what else you have to come up with in the future, and we're happy that Felicity is still going to be around. Which brings me on to the next item on the agenda, the boring part. Nominations, the nominations for the new committee. So there are going to be quite a few changes. We have some of our old committee members that are going to be leaving us. As you know, Tony is going to be leaving us. Ingrid Heinrich, thank you very, very much for all your years of hospitality, gentleness, kindness, wisdom, being there, being supportive through all our meetings and events, and opening up your home to us whenever necessary. We really appreciate all you've done, and we're sad to be losing you, and we wish you all the best in your journey forward. And then Robin Obbs Brody is also leaving us. She's been one of our founder members who was also there with us in the forest 6 years ago. And her main project has been the tree tag project, which has been a fantastic project, tree labeling, tree identification. We have tagged many trees, identified many trees, and she's been a very big part of educating the ignorant, not the stupid. So we're sad to lose you, and we thank you very, very much. And the tree tag project hopefully will continue still for many years to come. Lee Scott, Tony has mentioned the valuable role that you've played, so we thank you very much for that. So you'll be moving on. And your daughter, Verona and Dwayne Rainer. Thank you to them in their absentia. Please tell them that we really do appreciate, especially the work that they've done for us at the Munster night market, helping to raise very valuable and much needed funds for us at the night market. When none of us were available, they did that for many years, and we're very grateful for that. And we wish them all the best as well. So all of those wonderful people are retiring from our committee, and we've got some exciting, lovely new faces. Before the new members, there are those that are remaining on the committee, those that have decided to remain, myself, Polani Chaka, who's not here this evening, Felicity, Frank, and Lauren Westfield. Sorry, Westfield. Westfield will be staying with us on the committee. Jackie Dutoy and Dominique will continue. So we're very happy that they will still carry things through for us. And then we're very excited with some new people who have made themselves available to continue leading things forward. And that is Phil Joubert. Thank you, Phil. He's already been out there on the ground, handling the alien invader removal, and we're very grateful to you for joining us. Samantha Prigge, who you've all met already, here she is, gave us the wonderful bird talk. We're very lucky to have you step on board, so thank you very much. And Pauline Names at the back there, has also made herself available, so thank you. And then, of course, Corrie Lotter. So who is has made himself, as you heard, available to be chairman. So thank you very much, Corrie. We hope that your duties as chairman won't lead you away from discovering the mysteries of the forest. So, Silt's also going to join us. Wow, wonderful. Thank you, Silt. Okay, so to make matters simple, all these names that I've read, those that are remaining, those that are making themselves available, is there anybody else that would like to make themselves available to join the committee? Cheryl. Yes, thank you, Cheryl. So we have another person who's offering to join. As a committee, we meet once every couple of months and plan our way forward, discuss issues that need to be taken care of, etc. So I'm going to suggest, to make matters simple, that we have a proposer for all the remaining and available members, and then a person that will second that proposal. And if there's no interference, then we can move forward. And that will be the new committee. So should I read the names again? Okay. Jeanne-Louise Kinsey, Polani Chaka, Felicity Balcomb.
Sorry,
Yes?
I think, I thought you were going to.
No. Jeanne-Louise Kinsey. I get confused.
Yeah.
I'm still got an identity crisis. Jeanne-Louise Kinsey. Frank van Wensien, Frank and Lauren, or just Frank? You're a couple, you're a team.
Yeah, we come as a package.
You come as a package. Jackie Dutoy, Dominique, Sarah, and then new ones, Phil Gilbert, Samantha Prigge, Sam and Silt, Pauline May, and Corrie Lotter. Do I have somebody who will proposal for all those names? Tony, propose, and seconder? Okay, any objections? So the new committee is officially elected. Corrie has offered to stand as chairperson. I need a proposer, because I can't propose. Propose Felicity, proposing Corrie as chairperson, a seconder. Anybody to second here? Tim, second. What was going to crash? So I think that's it. Unless anybody objects with anything more to say, we officially have a new committee. So congratulations and thank you, everybody. If there's anybody that hasn't been thanked or mentioned, please let me know. No? Good. Okay. What's that? The restaurant. A reminder that the restaurant is still open this evening. If anybody would like to join us for supper, it's a lovely menu, delicious food, extra orders. Enjoy the evening further. Is that it? Oh, and it's not in it at all. It's far from it. The one and only and very beautiful head of our MRRA, Annelize. Slabbert. For a vote of thanks.
Thank you, though, for inviting me. Thank you very much for inviting me to a meeting. You won't know this, but Anthony knows this. Can you hear me? Am I here? The last time Anthony invited me to a meeting, it caused no ends of problems for me and for Anthony and for the MRA and for the Conservancy. So it's with great pleasure that I can now say that thanks to the wise leadership of Rod Kinsey, who was then the new chairman of the MRA, and to Anthony and to Jeanne-Louise, we managed to patch up those difficulties. And I don't know how many years, is it 3, 4 years later? We are now here together, and I can attest, and you can attest to the synergy that has been accomplished by being separate, but together. One of the other things that I've learned in these years, and I'm sure that you will all agree, and maybe we can take that forward, is to be very pragmatic about what we consider to be our differences. And there were differences, and I'm glad to say that those differences didn't lead to any jail term, remember? We are still here intact. And mostly the solutions did not please either of us, but we went ahead, we made vast progress. And so I can now congratulate Corrie, who we have seconded, is that the right pronunciation? From the MRRA to the Conservancy, and to all the other new members and current members of the Munster Conservancy. We wish you all the best. And if I can say something about going ahead, that would be that we will need in these times vast wisdom, flexibility, and adaptability. And that is what I wish for all of us. And thank you very much once again for inviting me.
Well done.
I just wanted to set one thing straight, because Tony said that he phoned me and I had to think about it. I think that thinking took about 3 or 4 months of WhatsApp messages that, I didn't respond to or didn't get to, or whatever the case is. I think at the time, just to, and I have to say one thing just quickly, and this is just who I am. I hate praise. I personally, I despise it. I'm not a humble person, if I could state it like that, but I really don't. I really don't like it when people speak highly of me, because I'm just a normal person. I have a lot of faults of my own, and you'll all see that quite shortly, because you haven't worked in the MRRA, so you don't know where I fail every single day. But that's the reality. So I think what it is for me is I look up to everyone around this room. I see a lot of wisdom, a tremendous amount of wisdom that I'm still learning as well. I've picked up a lot. I think Tim was one of the first gentlemen that I met here that taught me even just the small things, of appreciating our environment. And that's what it's about. It's about us just going day to day, seeing where we live, and actually just observing and appreciating what we've got. It's a very simple thing to do. I made a joke about the Adidas earlier, but the comment was quite valid. For 4 days, and I'm not a birder, I'm not an avid birder, but we try to participate. But for 4 days, no one noted that they saw Adidas around. Where they were there every freaking day, But we tend to focus our attention on stuff that's not always important. We tend to always focus on sensationalism, or focus on points that get action or gets attention. And I think that was a tremendous, it was a clear example of how we close our vision to the ordinary, and we don't realize what's around us. So that to me was something that I picked up quite clearly there from that scenario. There was a couple of things mentioned, but just one thing that I'd like to mention is that I can't step into someone else's shoes. Tony, I think you've done a tremendous job. I joined the Conservancy, I'm sure you'll remember, that was about 3-4 years ago. Shortly after we started, I think it was in the first year, Jeanne-Louise mentioned the opening of the nature reserve, the forest itself. And one of the things that I remember expressing, and I still see it right in my mind's eye, is that picture of a bunch of weird people hugging a tree, and I look at that, and when I joined the Conservancy at the time, I personally didn't feel comfortable. And the reason I didn't feel comfortable comfortable was because what Tony said is that I don't like this extremism. I don't like it. My approach is balanced. I like when, not when everyone compromises, but when there's an objective and there's a holistic view about things, and it's a balanced approach that takes everyone into account, not just the few that has a passion or a vision for something. Passion is what drove you, Tony, and I think in our time, strangely enough, we had a strange relationship, but I think in time, our relationship helped one another. You know, at that time, you were extremely passionate, to the point where you explained to me that you would stay awake, you know, at night when the trees cut down because of the emotional, you know, emotions you would feel about it. And I think, and it's not blowing my own horn, but I think my presence, my engagement helped to say, let's just get to a more balanced approach. The people doing the acts don't necessarily know what they're doing, would know what the impact is. But to attack someone about it is also not the right way of doing it. It's about education. Frogland is one of the prime examples. Frogland is not successful because of what we did. The frogs were there. The frogs were literally next door. So they were there. All we did is we made it available. We made it accessible. The intent with the design was especially that, was to say that we're building this, but we have to do pathways so that people could go there and walk there and see and educate. And the snakes are exactly the same. It's the strangest thing. Yesterday I went to fetch a little green, it was a spotted bush snake. It was on top of an aircon inside a house. People were freaking out about it. And even though I know it's harmless, and I've dealt with many of them before, I still don't like snakes. Strange, you know, whatever you think about me, I don't want to handle them because I don't want to get bitten. It's a harmless little snake, but I don't want to get bitten. You know, but you have to do it. You have to serve. You have to give back to the community. And I think in the last 2 years, I think that's what I hope through my actions, through other actions as well, is that we've made nature more aware. You know, we've made it more aware and we've made it more of a respectful engagement through education. I think the snakes, for example, what I've seen 2 years ago, every little snake on a group, people would freak out. You know, action, you need to step in and someone needs to phone a snake catcher. But suddenly now in the last couple of months, it's clear, even if I speak to people, that they've encountered snakes many a times. They just haven't posted on the groups. Now, what's beautiful about that is that it's not sensationalism anymore. It's people are now interacting and have learned to understand nature. And I think that's to me, that's just what I'd like to see how we could move forward with that kind of notion. We need the activists, we need passionate people, we need crazy people like Frank. We need that.
Oh, that's great.
We need that because that creates conversation, it creates questions, it creates thinking, and it creates a passion to find solutions. But we have to be careful to think that we are here to save nature. You know, that's the one thing that when I see a bird that's flown into a window, where there's a little bird, you know, that's jumped out of the nest and it's stuck in the ground. For us to just jump in and think we have to save it, you know, that we should refrain from thinking that we have the ability and the power to save nature. I think Frogland is one of the prime examples. All we did is we dug holes. The frogs came. We didn't have to go and fetch frogs and put them there. We're not in control. And we have to just establish that balance and say we have to live with nature, but we have to be careful about how we approach it and how we make it a sensationalist environment and focus on moving forward in a combined, in a more objective and an inclusive manner. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I think we have to find a different way of earning an income as well, but we'll work on that. I think there's work to be done. Cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.